Gino's East is one of Chicago's most famous deep dish pizza places. They've been open since 1966. And there are still some people who don't realize Gino's East is here in LA now too. And let me tell you, it feels like you're in Chicago when you're in there. I know, I'm in there a lot. And during the week, Gino's has a happy hour from 3 to 6, Monday through Thursday. Get $5 drinks like Stella and Dark Horse Chardonnay. Also, $6 eats like spinach artichoke dip, garlic breadsticks, and a jumbo bowl of fries. There's so much great stuff on the menu. I always have a difficult time deciding what to order at Gino's. My go-to is probably the tavern pizza, cheese and sausage. You know what? Everything is my go-to there. Deep dish, the Italian beef, you name it. Everything on that menu is fantastic. Gino's East of Chicago and Los Angeles was named Best Pizza in the Southland by LA Times readers 2 years in a row. It's more than just a Chicago restaurant. It's one of the best restaurants in LA. Check out the friendly confines of Gino's East LA today on the corner of Coldwater Canyon and Riverside Drive, just off the 101. See you there. Sit back and relax. It's time for peanuts, popcorn, and Cracker Jacks. Hey, how's it going? I'm your host, Jeff Santo, and I'm here with my wife, Christie.
Hello, hello.
So, since we last were on, we had our 14th wedding anniversary.
We did. And we also both got sick. So just a reminder out there, go get your flu shot, your COVID shot.
Oh, yeah, that was brutal. But anyway.
I thought I was going to escape it.
14.
I had a whole week where you were sick and I was invincible. I'm like, it's because I'm vegan.
Yeah, because you're vegan and you eat better than me. I'm like, okay, keep talking.
And then I went down.
Then you went down. I have to say, next year is going to be a big year for us.
Huge.
We're doing our independent film, Wild Ones. And it's your directorial debut.
Yes.
How you feeling about that?
I feel really excited about it. And what's even cooler is that I'm seeing myself in a whole new light.
Awesome.
And I know you said this, after your dad passed, that there's something that happens inside of you that I feel like you have this extra strength, this extra push, this, and I didn't feel that with my dad, and I feel that now with my mom passing, and that it's been really hard dealing with the passing of my mom, because we were so intertwined and frenemies, and it's psychologically.
It's a tough one.
Toughy. So.
It's because you go back and forth. You guys loved each other, but it was tough. You had a tough mother-daughter kind of thing at times, but that happens a lot.
And she's, a big inspiration also for my writing. So it's been, I've been in my head a lot lately, not so much socially on social media. I've been very much thinking about the stories I want to write in the future,
Absolutely.
And my path as a director and my vision and what do I have to say and all of that. And so I'm really excited for next year and to direct this project. It's going to be really cool.
Yeah, we have a great vision. And for anyone that wants to kind of look at, we did a sizzle reel for it, and then we did a trailer of the sizzle reel, which is on our YouTube channel, right?
Right. So if you go to our Santo Films 10 YouTube channel, you can see the trailer, and in the description of the trailer, there's a link to see this short.
The full sizzle.
10-minute short.
We did like a couple scenes just to give a flavor, the tone of the story, with a noir style and real cool character-driven story that we're very proud of. It's kind of our baby, and so it's everything. I wake up every day thinking about it and looking at the script and studying the character, Raleigh.
How do you
Boulders.
feel about acting now?
I love it. I'm ready. This character is everything that I've lived my life. The path has got me to play this guy through who I've met and just the journey alone. And he's a bit of a few people that I was close with, and a lot of myself in there in certain ways. And so I feel the older I've gotten, because I was always self-conscious about my skin with cystic acne when I was in my teens and 20s. It stayed with me a lot of my life. I don't feel that way anymore. I feel like, the older I've gotten, like the scars or whatever I had with my skin, I'm comfortable with now. I'm comfortable in my skin, and that feels great. And just the craft of acting, just been studying it a lot, but I've also been involved in my whole career, directing actors. And so now, and having you direct me, I just feel comfortable with that. And just seeing you direct the sizzle, because we were planning to do that together. I'm like, no, you're taking over. It's your vision here.
Yeah.
And just visually though, you have such an eye, for lighting, all that, way more than I had.
My father was a lithographer, so I mean, he was a color master,
Yep.
His whole job, essentially, I mean, it's not just the whole, practitioner of being a printer, but, was getting that color just right so that it matches the artwork. And so I think I just kind of picked up on some of that from him, understanding, color and seeing beautiful pictures, beautiful paintings.
Yeah.
And understanding, composition naturally.
Yeah, you do. You just have a natural way about it. And we also know our tone. It's every director has to have a tone and a theme, and we have everything in that script. Like the script is everything, right? We worked so hard on it together. And now just what you did with the sizzle, and to show a slice of what our movie will be like. We're not going to use any of this footage, but that 9 minutes is just, you feel like you're in a film. We're in it, and the just shots and everything that went along with it. And we know that, you could have got some more if we had more time. So it's just, it's inspiring to know like what we can do from what we just did. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm excited about it too. And now this show today, it's something else. Ryan Dempster.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to get Ryan Dempster on this podcast for a while, and thank God he is on. I reached out to him via Instagram, and boy, we talk about a lot, and the mental game of baseball. He's so big on it, the mental game of life too. He's such a well-rounded person. It was a pleasure just to sit there and have a conversation about the game of baseball, family, teammates, my dad. So really excited for you to hear it. And also, our crackerjack call is to a dear friend, Jim McCauley. He's been on before.
He's a crackerjack.
He's a cool crackerjack. And he went out to the Hall of Fame. And I made a call out there to see if he could, get a look into some back rooms. And I don't know if it worked at all. So I called him up to say, hey, did it work out? What was the Hall of Fame like? And what was his experience like? And seeing my dad's plaque. So, yeah.
Very cool episode.
Very cool episode.
Enjoy.
Enjoy. Have you ever wondered how cool it would be to experience the life of a big league ball player? Well, at Northside Baseball Fantasy Camp, you'll enjoy the week of a lifetime, playing ball on pro-quality fields, being coached by and sharing a clubhouse with Cub legends including Fergie Jenkins, Jody Davis, Bob Denier, Sean Dunston, and Lee Smith. Imagine your first day at the camp at Northside. You enter into the clubhouse and see your locker with your nameplate and personalized home and away Cub uniforms, and then you see that one of your Cubs heroes has a locker right next to yours. No longer a fantasy. Your Cubs career is about to get real. At Northside Baseball Fantasy Camp, you'll stay in top shelf accommodations and compete in a 10-game season that includes a playoff to determine the camp champions. My brother and I were on a couple of camp championship teams, and it got intense. It was great competition. And you'll have services of a professional training staff, and you'll need it, that's for sure. Plus a clubhouse attendant like the big leagues have. Picture yourself towing the rubber facing Ron Santo or Willie Wilson or Ron Coomer. Yeah, that's right. And when you're in the batter's box, you better get ready to take some hacks against big league arms like Mike Remlinger, Ray Burris, and Tim Stoddard. Northside Baseball Fantasy Camp is run by veterans of Randy Huntley's Fantasy Camp. Randy's a legend and will always be remembered for this gift he gave to baseball fans, to all of us. His legacy is in good hands. Northside Camp runs January 26th to February 2nd, 2025 in Tucson, Arizona. Roster spots are limited, so grab yours today. Go to wavelandevents.com. That's wavelandevents.com and click on Northside Baseball Fantasy Camp link for more information and to register. You can also follow Northside Baseball Fantasy Camp on Facebook. Sign up now. My special guest played 16 years in the major leagues as a top-notch starter and closer. He spent 9 seasons on the north side of Chicago. He is the only Cub and one of just 3 players to start a game and collect 30 saves in the same season. In 2005, he saved 33 games with the best save percentage in the league. In 2008, as a starter, he started the season 10-0 at Wrigley Field, a feat that didn't happen in 31 years. A 2-time All-Star and a recipient of the Tip O'Neill Award, he finished his career in Boston with a World Series championship in 2013. Not a better way to go out. He's now a co-host on MLB's Intentional Talk and a studio and game analyst for Marquee Sports. He's one of my dad's favorite Cubs, a wonderful human being with an outstanding personality. So cool to have you on the show, Ryan Dempster. How you doing today, man?
Jeff, I'm great, man. Thanks so much for all that kind intro. That's it's fun to hear those things. You know, you don't reminisce very often as ex-players, so that's kind of nice.
Right, man. Oh, hey, well deserved, man. You had a great career, and man, you're just a great ambassador of baseball. And you also predict teams well. Like last year, you predicted the Texas Rangers like midway through with your little art thing, dollars plus Bochy equals, a World Series championship. I got to ask you, man, it's been a great playoff series that we've watched. What do you think, man? It's exciting baseball.
Yeah, it really is. And it's been a great combination of, teams in smaller markets like Detroit and Cleveland and, that going on to the big dogs. And, I've heard this rhetoric out there, oh, these teams with the big payrolls. It's like, it's really been a while since we had like monster team versus monster team. And if you think about it this way, 43 years ago, 1981 was when the last time the Dodgers and the Yankees met in the World Series.
Yep.
So for the people out there and sit there and say, I'm sick of the Yankees and the Dodgers, it hasn't happened in 43 years.
Right.
And I think it's great for the game when we have the greatest players, Ohtani, Judge, Soto, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, you go down the list, Anthony, all these guys playing in the greatest stage, coast to coast. It's awesome, man. It's what it's all about. It's just so great. It's great for the game globally. It's great for the game, great here in the United States. And that's what we want. We want to see these guys and see what they do when the lights are the brightest.
You're right, man. It is something special to see, like you said, the big dogs actually coming through. And what's going on in our country and the world, it's to turn on a baseball game like that, right? And see pure competition, real competition. And man, who's going to win that battle from the mound to the plate is something else to watch. And to see what Juan Soto did at that bat, what would you do as a pitcher if he's saying, I'm all over you? Like, I'm getting chills because I see the belief in him, but what are you doing on the mound? Are you doing anything different?
Yeah, maybe you're staring him right back or buzzing his tower, like if we're going to play this game, that it's like become this weird thing about throwing inside on guys. And I've always said it one guy, okay, I think it was the 20s or 30s, he got hit in the head and he died.
Mm-hmm.
And it's terrible. But like times have changed. There's equipment's better and stuff like that. Guy, you might get hurt. It might sting a little bit. You get hit by a pitch, but like it was never about throwing at a guy. I was never going and saying I'm also playing a chess match and I'm trying to keep a guy off balance. And if I feel like he's leaning out over the plate and fouling off a nasty pitch, I got to come inside and I don't want to miss out over the plate because if I do that, he's going to do what Juan Soto did. And so he's having that friendly little banter with you when he's on you. Cool, let's go. Let's have a match. Let's have some fun here. And that's what you dream about because at the core of it, we get lost in dollars and posters and billboards of players and commercials. But the core of it, like you said, is 60 feet, 6 inches away is a guy I was facing and a guy who was trying to get a hit off of me. And that's backyard baseball at its finest. It's 2 guys competing and you could throw all the analytics out the door. It's like sometimes, and that's what's going to happen in this series is It's going to come down to who wills it to happen more than somebody else. I truly believe that, because these are great players. Nobody is really going to fail. I think it's more that somebody gets it done. I prefer to tip my cap this time of season than I do to say that somebody didn't get it done.
Right. I believe that too. I mean, just seeing what we've witnessed in the playoffs, I was like amazed, because you got first and second soda. You can't walk them, right? You can't put them on. You don't want the bases loaded in that situation, right? Maybe you do walk them. I don't want you to 3 and 2. Maybe you do walk them, right?
It's funny you say that, though, because we always say, oh, there's an open base when it's second and third, but we never say it's an open base when it's first and second.
No, we don't.
You know?
Right?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, but I mean, what do you do there? I mean, you got big players coming up right after him. It's just great to see that, and then him to come through. I was just like, some people compete differently. Like when you got like Juan, so he's got to talk to himself, right? And so you got to do your thing out there. And I know that you're a big proponent of the mental game of baseball, and I love that, man. You also like the mental game of life, right? There's so many things to compare, and tell me about that a little bit, because I always get like, I look at the pennant races, and I look at 1969 and the team with my dad that they didn't get there, that you thought something goes wrong. Like, you got there in 2013. So tell me the difference psychologically. What is different from that team than the other teams that you've been on? You have been on some good Cub teams. What's the difference that you saw?
Yeah, I think, being on some good teams, when you truly have a locker room that everybody in there is of utmost belief you're going to win, and then you combine that with, it starts with the players, and that trickles down to the coaches, because like coaches get nervous because they get fearful of the bad happening probably more than they get excited for the good happening at times. And then you go to front office, and you go to fans, and like for the fans, for a long time, and you saw this especially a lot after 69, I would say, is this always this fear of the other, the pin's going to drop, or here comes the other shoe, here it comes, always looking over their shoulder, what bad's going to happen, instead of, no, what good is going to happen, how do we make this? Because as players, we feel that energy, and especially in a home ballpark, we do. We can feel when things go negative. Like I remember in 2008, I gave up a grand slam to James Loney, wrong pitch, wrong execution. So I didn't execute, but he succeeded. He hit that pitch out of the ballpark. That place went dead silent, and it was 4-2. It wasn't 10-2. It wasn't 8-0. It was 4-2. We're a bloop and a blast away from it, but the undertones of that were so heavy. Whereas I feel like in 2016, the guys in that locker room were composed of a group that completely supported each other, and that they knew it was going to happen. They knew they were going to win. And so it never felt that way. Even being down 3-1, it was like, cool, we got John Lester pitching, then you got Jake Arrieta, and then Kyle Hendricks. Like, when have we not won 3 games in a row with those guys going? And in Boston, when we won, it was very much that way. Like we were a different breed. I will say that in my 16 years of playing in the big leagues, I've never been around a group of guys that really feared no one, and even like, completely just utterly talk shit like so much. Right. To the other team. And I think that permeated in our locker room to the point where, hey, I know you're a good team, but we're going to find a way. Somehow, some way, we're going to find a way to beat you. We have the entire city behind us. We have the state of Massachusetts behind us. We're going to do this. And I think that is what happens. I really do. I think that it becomes that way. And the mental headspace, we're all talented. You whittle it down from 30 to 8 to 4 to 2 teams. You're no more talented than us, vice versa. We're here for a reason. How much do you believe in here? How much can you withstand up here to be able to get through that?
Can you say, though, like going back at the teams that didn't make it, that you thought had the chance to do it, can you look at it now with time going by saying, okay, I understand why we didn't do it? Like you can almost do that in a film. Like I could look at some of my movies and go, oh, I know where I failed there, right? You get better. And I really believe, whether the tone's not correct, or you didn't pick up a few shots, or whatever, you didn't have the right actor. Do you feel like all those pieces, like you look at it like you got to have veteran stuff? The psychology really is such a big deal.
Yeah, it is, and you have to make sure first and foremost that your star players are free of everything. So that's where you have role players that go out there and allow those actors to kill their role. That's what the supporting actor does, right? It allows that same thing in a locker room. Your guys that maybe throughout the course of the season they hit 250 with 15 home runs and 60 RBIs. On championship teams, those are just as equally important as the guy who hits 330 with 40 and 100, because they allow that guy to have the freedom. They take the media request. They deflect things when things are wrong. They're there to pick the guy up in the batting cage, and for pitchers the same way. You can have your aces. You need your fourth and fifth starter that are glue guys. You need your guys in the bullpen that keep those guys ready to go. So it is so important to have that. And sometimes on some of those teams where we didn't get it done, I felt like it wasn't 25 guys. Sometimes it felt like, well, we had, 18 guys on board. Whereas the teams that ultimately won, you had no choice. You couldn't be the outlier. Those guys would spit you up and chew you out and just be like, see you later, man. Like you're gone. Like this, we're part of something bigger here. It's not about you, it's about we. And when you can have, when you take me out of it and you make we the equation, it becomes a beautiful thing that, leads to these really great moments.
Yeah, you're right. Anything that you have a group of people going for a certain goal, you have to all work together to accomplish that, right? And baseball, even today, it seems almost harder to get to the World Series. Back when my dad played, until '69, it was you win a National League, you're in the World Series, right? So
yep.
It's harder to get there. But then it's two divisions. But now you got these teams that can just get on fire. Who knows what can happen during that time that they get in, and the best team doesn't win all the time. But now we're seeing the best team get there, and it's pretty special to see that. But I agree with you. Like the mental part of it, you've talked about this. Like you talked about, like you can't go out and think, oh, I lost the game. You got to think, what can I do to get better? Talk about that a little bit. I like that because it's about individual success, individual mindset that a team can collect. Like do your role, play your part, and just do it. Don't worry about the wins or loss. If you play your part and everyone else plays their part, we're going to win this thing.
Yeah, especially come playoff time. Jeff, like think about it this way. You can pick up 1 million baseball cards, and not one of those baseball cards has a postseason stat on the back. They don't. You start 0 and 0 and 0 all across the board. Your stats are the same as the next guy. That's what's beautiful. Tommy Edman just won the NLCS MVP. Not Shohei Ohtani, not Mookie Betts, Tommy Edman. And that shows you the glory of the playoffs. So when you have guys, and if you watch the series and how he played, what you did, yeah, he had some home runs. Yes, he had some doubles. But you know what else he did? He played center field. He played shortstop. He played all around. He came up with the big base hit with 2 strikes. He fought off tough at bats. That's winning baseball. And that's putting the team ahead of yourself. A runner on second base, not out. I am getting him to third base. Because if we can get this lead 1-0, automatically we go to 65% chance of winning the game just by doing that alone. So I'm going to play that statistic. Now on top of that, now we're winning 1-0. Now my teammates play a little bit freer than the team that's down 1-0. It has a trickle down effect that is so much, especially in the playoff. And then now all of a sudden you get a lead. Now it's 2-0. Now guess what? Now you're not facing, the nastiest reliever in the 6th inning. You might be facing the guy who's the manager's hoping to keep it close. So he's not the A reliever. He's the B+ or the A-. And then now you're able to tack on another run. And now you win that game all because you got the lead 1-0 by making a productive out and getting a guy over. By who cares what your swing looks like? I don't care what it looks like. I care what happens. Now I'm the process out the door. It is result orientated. So I'm worried about, I'd much rather take a broken bat grounder to second that I beat out than a line drive to the left field. Well, I hit it hard. Cool. You know what you're doing? You're going to a beach somewhere while somebody else is playing in the next round. I'm looking for results. And by that mentality of giving yourself up that way, if I'm a pitcher, I don't care about my ERA. I gave up a home run to Matt Holliday in Game 1 of the World Series in 2013. A bomb. So far, 450 feet over the Green Monster. We went 8-1. Who cares?
Right.
We won. I'm trading outs for runs. I don't give a crap. I need 3 more now. And I remember being in the shower afterwards, and Johnny Gomes had a great line though, because part of you is like, you do want to throw up a zero, like the four of you.
Right.
But we won, so I'm happy. And he goes, "Hey Demp, look at it this way. If you would have finished with a 0 ERA, nobody would have thought you pitched." And I'm like, great point. Like, like they all know I pitched in the World Series because I have an ERA. And like, it was more about the lines that that's the most important thing. So you find those ways. And for managers, that's how they manage. It's not about your ego. It's not about your feelings. And so if you can ultimately take that on, that's how you manage that mental game. Put your team first. And I always said this, at the end of the year, whoever wins this World Series, every free agent that is on that teams are going to be calling. They're going to want them because they won. You can have a great year and hit 20 home runs and drive into 80. And some teams are going to be like, yeah, I'm not really sure. We'll do a non-roster deal. We'll give you a 1-year deal. But you win, and people want winners. So if you permeate that attitude and you treat that attitude that way, people will want you in baseball. They'll want you when you're done playing, and they'll want you as friends in life because people want to be around that kind of energy.
Yeah, I saw you talk about it. It's so true. And like how even in the clubhouse during the season, you're like, you got to look at, you got your stars, you got the guys that are making more money, like in life too. Oh, someone makes more money. It doesn't mean he's a better person than you, right? Doesn't mean you got to kiss his butt, right? It's like, let's get some integrity, let's get some character. But as a team, you got to be like, okay, the guy that's struggling, we got to give him a little push up. The guy that's hot, let's not kiss his butt, but let's all be equal. I love how you brought that mentality. I think that's happening more in baseball because you have to. There's more money on the line. There's just a lot out there. You're exposed a lot more than in my dad's day. And I look back to my dad's time, and those guys, their playoff time was September, right? You don't realize because you're battling out, so you got to have that mindset in September. And so I just love the way like you look at that, and you even talked about like the walk and talk with a player. Tell me about that.
Yeah, just, like being able to see the individual and what makes them tick, You walk, you talk with a player, you understand them. I think that's the biggest thing, There's a reason why I have a lot of relationships and I've been done playing for, 11 years now, is because you get to know those players. So when you walk and you get to understand them, you get to understand what makes them tick and, and what motivates them. Like you said, lift the guy up when they're down. You don't need to lift them up. I didn't need to lift up, Big Poppy. I didn't need to lift up Derek Lee when he was hitting 330 and 40 home runs. I don't need to lift up, Carlos Zambrano when he's. I got to keep them humble so they don't get too big and full of themselves, and realize what gets them there. And I think that's the biggest thing is we're built on failure. We're gonna fail all the time, man, all the time.
Yep.
Your dad failed 70% of the time. He's in the Hall of Fame. So as long as you can understand that you're going to fail, and so then why fear anything? To fear is to fail. Go for it. You're gonna fail, and having that with guys and understanding that and building that within. It's all about relationships and trust and care, and sometimes and everybody's different. Some guys come to the ballpark and they just want to focus on baseball and they care about you, but like their number one goal and drive is this, and so then you have to figure out and navigate how that works. And because we can't have you not be a part of the team, but we also need you good players to get where we need to go. And so it's about building and trust and relationships. And I think that's, still, no matter where we're at, whether we're playing in the 20s, the 60s, or right now, it's all about trust. It's trusting each other and trusting in that locker room. And the teams that love and trust the most get to where your dad's 69 Cubs were. You look at those guys, and when your dad was still with us, all those guys were all buddies, man. They all cared about each other years and years later. And that's how we are. Kerry Wood just getting inducted in the Cubs Hall of Fame, and you see all these guys that come back, the Glendon Rushes and the Paul Baccos and the Derek Lees and the Ted Lillies and all these guys that come back, Giovanni Soto, and they're there for Kerry, not because he was good at baseball. They're there because he was good at life,
Yeah, that's it, man. And I look at, like, in life, like I had a talk with a dear friend, childhood friend that you keep in touch with, that you evolved together, that you can call and say, hey, man, I just want to let off some steam here about what's going on. And it's great to have that because, the older you get, you see that that's important for just mental health. to
Yeah.
go for what you need to go for. And I love that you talk that way. And I think back in my dad's era, maybe they didn't do that enough with each other. You know, it's just the way they were. Like I look at like a guy like Randy Hundley and my dad, right? They played together. They loved each other. Maybe they could have loved each other a little more though, right? I like, because it's funny. I love Randy. I see that they always got on each other. But you look at it and you go, hey, man, there's two different guys here. One guy's a city guy. One guy's a country boy. You know, one guy's father guided him to the big leagues in a hard way. One guy's father, my dad, left him, you know, was a failure.
Yeah.
So he got there that way. So you got two different mindsets of how you compete. And you almost have to know that so the other guy doesn't get a little offended if someone has a comment. And, you know, it gets that way in life, too, with work. You know, you got to have people that understand that we're a team. We're going to do this thing together. You know, you play your role. I'll play mine. You're right. Let's not get butthurt. Okay. If someone gets pissed off. And I think you guys are really, people are getting a grip of that now in baseball. And you're starting to see it. Somehow I just saw it this year. Like, wow, how you talked about Tommy. So I think that's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah. Well, and like, you know, like that's the generation too. Like your dad's generation, you grew up, you know, a little bit more close to the chest. Your dad, especially the things that he kind of had to keep secrets, or he felt like he had to keep a secret, right? Because that's how it was. It's like, I'm not going to let anybody know I have diabetes. I'm going to deal with this on my own. I'm not going to let anybody know about what I had to grow up with. And I'm going to use that as fuel, which is great. But at the same time, you know, I think it held him back in a sense of people really getting to know this amazing man that he was because of that as a player. It later came out as a broadcaster and as a human later on in life, which is awesome that we got to know him that way as well. But I think that's a generational thing. And, you know, and even for now, you know, we got to be careful we don't go too far, you know, like don't go too far. It's still supposed to be hard.
Yeah.
Like there's only 780 players that do this every year. Exactly. It's supposed to be elite. It's not supposed to be easy. Can we make it, you know, easier for you to get through some of the things you might be dealing with off the field, some of the things you might be dealing with that you went through as a younger man or as a child, or all those kind of things, because we have mental health issues being taken care of with, you know, team psychologists and therapists and different. Sure, awesome. It's still supposed to be hard. It's never supposed to be easy. And I think, you know, like I always tell my wife, I said, we have travel ball all over the world, right? It's everywhere. People are going broke paying for their kids to go through child travel baseball, right? All this stuff. It's still the same amount of people making it to the big leagues. It's not like it's any easier. It's not like we've had all this travel ball and all, you know, we got all these companies and you know, perfect game and top tier. It's still the same amount of guys are playing. It's not like we're getting more. So it's still hard, and it should be hard. It's the hardest. There's not another league, you know, although if there was, Shohei Ohtani could go play on it, you know, but like there's not a league on the moon or something. So it's good that we have these things and we're able to identify and, you know, and I feel for some of these guys nowadays. They don't feel like they can do anything, you know, because they do go out, right? They go out somewhere, somebody snaps a picture and it's like, oh, he was out till 4 a.m.
Right.
If I had a guy taking a picture of me at every time I was out late at night, now it's been released 10 times over. So, you know, it's a different world we live in, but I think there's always balance. And I think that we've gotten to a really good point where we can help a lot of people and at the same time still push them to try and be great, you know, because it is a hard league to get into.
It is, man. It's the major leagues, you know, and when my dad played was only 400 in there. And you look at like, there's no crying in baseball. There's no whining in baseball, right? We'll always believe in that. You got to get out there and play. You got there for a reason. So use that talent. Okay.
Yeah.
But sometimes guys just can't take it in the head, right? They have certain things and they might be, they don't like someone's personality or who knows. And I think, you know, my dad loved you, right? And you guys had a special relationship. Did he ever talk to you about the 69 team? Did he ever talk to you about not getting there?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we would have coffee all the time in the clubhouse. Obviously, my first year in Chicago, coming back from Tommy John, and you know, I was doing a lot of the rehab stuff, and that's when he'd come down the locker room pregame to get his interview when Dusty would come in, and then we'd have coffee in the food room there and just talk about stuff, and just talked about that void of what he felt was, you know, almost like destiny, like it should have happened, you know, the team being that good. You know, he said, you know, when you have a team that I remember one time we were sitting there and we were talking about it, and we were talking about players, and I would always love to give your dad shit about how the players are. They're more talented now, Ronnie. That's what I'd say to him. They're better players now, and you stop that. And I would always say to him, I go, I'm just giving you crap, but I know this: players that played in your era, they played the game harder, and they didn't take anything for granted. And he said to me, he said, I agree with you that we played harder, right? Which I loved. And he goes, but we all sometimes take things for granted when we're playing, that we think that it's just always going to be there, And he's like, in '69 when we lost, I just thought we'd just be going the World Series every year. Like, now we're going to win the next. And he's like, and then it just doesn't happen, And you sometimes don't ever take for granted the moment that you're in right now. And I just always appreciated that, because when you're on winning teams and you just think that's how it's always going to be. And then all of a sudden you're in a tough stretch. And, I came after 03, 04, we lost in the last week of the season. And then 08, we go to the 07, 08. And then all of a sudden we start losing like we went through. And then, now I'm being traded away from the team I never wanted to leave, the Chicago Cubs. I want to finish my career there. And luckily enough, I ended up in a place like Boston, was able to win. And you're darn right, I never took that for granted, and not for a second. And I remember having that conversation. I told guys, you don't take this for granted. You think that this is going to be how it's be every year, but you don't know. And it might not ever be this way again. And some guys never get back there. Some guys never get there in the first place. And so I always remember that conversation with them, and having those conversations of being grateful for where you are, and don't let it slip away. And and he was a guy that, I feel like you got to, I didn't get to, I feel like he didn't take those things for granted.
No.
I feel like maybe he thought some teammates did at time, and that's okay. It's okay to feel that way, because if you don't take it for granted and you appreciate what you have, then you're allowed to say that to those guys, because this game will be over like that. They just keep playing games. They don't stop for anybody, no matter who you are. They just keep playing more seasons. And before it's all said and done, you're sitting at home and maybe looking back and wondering, man, should I have done something different? And conversations like I had with your dad make me feel good to look in the mirror and not look back and say that, because I didn't take it for granted. I always worked my tail off, because you never know when that opportunity is going to go away.
Yeah, so true, man. And I always look back at the '69 season, because it affected our family, right?
Yeah.
And you look at it and you go, what I do, since my dad passed, I really focus on, like, where was the breakdown? And I look back at it and I go, because I remember Tommy Lasorda saying to me when I was doing This Old Cub, he said, off camera, I didn't get it on camera, he's like, I'd take 9 Ron Santos any day of the week, right? And that's a cool thing to say. It's like, that means, like, yeah, I'll take 9 Ron Santos, I'll take 9 Billy Williams, I'll take 9 Ferguson Jenkins, I'll take 9 Ernie Bankses. And now you got to fill the rest in. Okay, three Don Kessingers, like you said, the role players to do it. And if you have that, I know that my dad, every day he went, because my brother and I were old enough to go to the games with him, right? And he was there, the first one there. But he wanted to win so much, but he also just knew, like you said, appreciated where he was from where he came, right? And maybe it was a psychological breakdown. I look at that and I think the Mets won the psychological game. They psyched out the Cubs.
And the shift, like a psychological shift. So not only did you have this amazing Mets run they were going on, you had the Cubs. And so as you're here, Cubs are here, Mets are here, and then you get to here. It's like any heavyweight boxing match or any sporting event. As that starts to happen, the fear that sets in some guys, not all of them, I don't think in your dad, and then the belief in other guys, now the scale starts to tip, and unfortunately it becomes this snowball that rolls down a hill that you can't stop.
Yeah.
And it needs 9 of your dad. Your dad was the toughest guy that I'd ever been around, man.
Right,
but he really was.
You got the personality, so you don't know who might be offended by certain things, and that becomes a big deal in just life itself, in a team environment for one goal. You can't, you got to go there and take all your personal crap out and play your role, right? And I remember, like, I got these scrapbooks sent to me by a fan not too long ago. Said, hey man, my dad died and this and that. He saved this stuff, and I want to send you these scrapbooks I did on 69 and 70. I got this scrapbook, and I'm looking at stuff, and I see an article in there in 1970 in spring training that my mom is the headline saying Judy Santo has rules for Ron in spring training in 1970. And they posted it on the clubhouse in Scottsdale. And it said, first one is get to know Randy Huntley and Don Kessinger more. Take them out and socialize with them, right? And then take the trainer out and Yosh Kawana. And it's like, get because she's thinking of something like, well, maybe, you guys got different personalities. These guys play hard. Kessinger, amazing. And Huntley behind the plate, these guys were just, they went out there and played tough, but you just don't know like what they might be thinking, versus the star of the team or, and I feel like, when she said that, and then don't wear anything, it said, don't wear your bathing suit, show anything revealing. It was classic my mom. But knowing that there's more to this, right? There's more to this that maybe that person doesn't go to the ballpark fighting as much as you are. He was there in 1960. These guys got there in 66, 67. So there is a balance, and maybe you don't have the right manager in Leo DeRocher to make everyone feel so, warm and fuzzy versus your Jim Leland story, which blew me away of like, talk about that. That was a big lesson for you at 21 years of age.
Yeah, Jim just, this man wins the World Series in 97, and then they dismantle the whole team. They get a bunch of rookies, and God bless him. He didn't get mad at us all year long, and we just sat there and sucked. But we thought we were cool. We thought we were sweet. Driving our Lexuses and our Mercedes Benz because we got big paychecks now and wearing fancy suits, and you're traveling in the Bird and you think you're a big leaguer. And he just waited for the right time, and the right time was, somebody had told a joke on the bench, and during a game we were losing, and in the Astrodome, and the Astrodome had these double Dutch or French doors that went to the clubhouse, and after the loss, here he comes. Just, if I ever see one of you pitchers laughing, we're getting our asses kicked, I'll have you out here so fast your head will spin. You think I'm messing around? You try me. You guys come from A-ball and double-A with 5 ERAs, think you're big leaguers? Well, you ain't a pimple on a big leaguer's ass. And we're like, whoa. Like, this guy hadn't said boo. It's like the dad never yelled. Then all of a sudden one day he decided to yell, and you're like, I'm one of the guys I know he's talking about because I came from the 5 ERA. But it was just, and then he did this, and he did it, and he left. And I remember him leaving after kind of chewing us out for about, not 5, it felt like 20, but it was about 5 minutes, And then I stood up to take my pants off, and Jay Powell was a reliever next to me. He goes, hey, dude, sit back down. He's coming back. Because Jay had him in 97. And I said, what? And here he comes again. And he just unleashes on us again. He did this five times. And this is the story. And he had the best line. He said, I'm going, after the last time, he goes, I'm going. And each time, by the way, he came in and out, he was wearing one less article of clothing. So like jersey was off, then his pants were off. He's just in his long underwear. Then his undershirt was off, and he's got his stirrups on. And he says, I'm going to my office, and I'm going to have a cigar, and I'm going to drink a whiskey. And if I come out in this locker room and there's anybody in here, I'm calling the cops, and I'm having you arrested for impersonating a Major League Baseball player. Now get the hell out of here. And he left. And we bolted. I think half the team didn't shower. But it was the greatest job of checking some guys, like a lot of us, because we were a lot of rookies. And God bless them, because I go down the list. Derek Lee, Kevin Millar, Mark Kotze, Cliff Floyd, Preston Wilson, Alex Gonzalez, Louis Castillo, Mike Lowell, myself, Josh Beck,
Wow.
Brad Penny, Braden Looper, Antonio Alphonse. All of us ended up having full pension, 10-year plus careers in the big leagues,
Right.
World Series champions, World Series MVPs, All-Stars. And I think that moment really put a lot of perspective onto where we thought we were as to where we needed to get to be professionals, to understand and respect the guys that came before us and played the game, because the guys before us didn't play so hard, there wouldn't still be a league. And I'm talking way back when, and truly understand that just as quick as you can be standing here, son, you can be sitting with that guy in section 132, row 12.
Right.
So you got to figure out what you want to do. And I tell him all the time, I give him a hug every time I see him, because I appreciated that so much, and it led to his impact in that locker room that day in Houston, led to so much success for many teams throughout the league, and we all kind of carried that.
Yeah.
and passed that down to other players, like, and understood. And when you talked about what you talked about spring training, I'll say this: if you have a next door neighbor, and you know your next door neighbor, and somebody's trying to break into your next door neighbor's house, you call the cops. But if you know that next door neighbor, you really, really know them, and you care for them, you don't wait. You're going in that door.
Yeah, right on.
And you're stopping that guy.
Yep.
And I think that's the same thing in a locker room. When you care for guys and you go that extra mile where you take Don Kessinger out for lunch, or you get to know Yosh Kawano like your dad did, then you care a little bit more, and those guys care a little bit more. And somewhere in there's a little bit more fight to win and do what it takes for those guys. And it doesn't become about yourself. It becomes about everybody. And that's a magical thing to be on.
That really is, man. You said a great thing too. In that, when Leland said, the line you said is, I'll lose 162 with you, but I won't do it like this.
Not like that.
I'll
lose every game all year long with you, but not like that. We're not gonna laugh when we're getting our asses kicked. There's too many people who've been in this game for a long time who would give anything to be out here, and we're not gonna laugh when we're getting our asses kicked. And I appreciated that. So much more than he ever knows. He made my career that day, and he made me understand what it meant to be a big league baseball player, so that I never lost respect for that.
Yeah, and just that line in general, like, I'll lose with you, man. I'll go down. I'll go down with you on the mat, but not like this. And that's how you win. When you have someone that could say that, like, I'll lose with you, man. Just bring your A game. All right, bring what bring what got you here. No
doubt.
So that's just it. And you were 21 years old, man. That's some good stuff. Now, you're a grounded guy, and you grew up in Canada. How many sports did you play out there?
All of them.
Really?
Yeah. The only thing I didn't play, I played 1 year of organized hockey because my mom, the rink was 30 minutes away. My mom did not like driving in any kind of winter conditions. My dad was working. I had two younger brothers, and she still was willing to sacrifice. She said, listen, boys, because I had two younger brothers, she goes, you guys can play hockey and no other sport. It's too expensive. It's all the gear. It's all the work. Or you can play every other sport and no hockey. And we were like, shit, we played soccer. We played basketball. I played Pop Warner football. I played a ton of baseball. So we had a really good little league program there with a lot of teams in a small town. And it just kind of blossomed from that. But I played everything all the time, every sport, every time it was on.
Wow. Now, when did you know that baseball was your sport?
14 years old. I started to stand out in my hometown. 15, I started to go into the city. I had to take a 40-minute ferry ride into the city to go play in there. And one of my dad's buddies coached us in the city, which was great. So we had somebody who could drive us to practices and games. And then I got picked up by a team in town called the North Shore Twins, which they would play, kind of their rival was the Wally Chiefs. The Wally Chiefs would go to the Little League World Series and stuff like that. They were kind of the premier powerhouse, and we slowly took that over the years. But definitely 14, 15 years old. And then 16, I was with Team Canada World Junior Classic, World Junior Baseball, playing against, teams from all over the world. So 16, 17. And that's kind of when I knew I had a shot, at least, getting drafted, but that was never the goal to get drafted. It was always to make it to the big leagues.
What was your mom and dad like? Obviously they had to be like the great people. I mean, great people, great family. Like, I had an extended family. Like, I was saying, I just grew up in a very, kind of loving extended family, in a sense of like, my mom's side and my dad's side, my mom was one of 8, my dad's one of 5. We would have, Christmas dinners together, like families together. We didn't have like, oh, you can't go over to Uncle Dave's house, or Aunt Patsy's Aunt Patsy was a little crazy. She loved her twins, but my Aunt Patsy, true story. I go to Minnesota, and my Aunt Patsy and Uncle Richard lived in Minnesota. They were from Winnipeg, and she was such a diehard Minnesota Twins fan. Diehard, like, was there waving the Homer hankies in the Metrodome and all that kind of stuff. And I get my ass kicked against the Twins, and I left passes for them to come down underneath in the tunnel, and she's like, "Oh, Ryan, did you see the Twins today? Oh, they were good, weren't they?" And I said, "Hey, Aunt Patsy, I just got my ass kicked by the Twins." And she goes, "Oh, I know. I'm sorry about that, honey, but I love my Twins. I love my Twins." Like, so
but that was my family. They were so loving. And my mom and dad, I will say this, they were young. My mom had me at 17. My dad was
Oh, wow.
20. Turned 21 later that year. My mom turned 18 later that year. They were great, and they had it. They didn't have it easy. They relied on the family a lot. My two younger brothers. But when it came time for baseball and sports and the boys, my mom wore the same pair of jeans all year long, so we could get a new baseball glove or a new pair of cleats.
Amazing.
She'd wash them and iron them every day. Whatever we needed, whatever it was for us for our sports. And then later on, we were not well off at all. If I was when I was in my teenage years and I was doing big baseball tournaments, the owner of Gibson's Building Supplies was my dad's boss, was giving me $1,000, to be able to do these things. My parents couldn't afford it. But my mom would always be like, "You're going to the city. Here's $20 for the ferry and food. Here's $20 for the." I look back later, not in the moment, and realize that my mom, I don't even know. I'm sure they were in the negative bank statement every month, paycheck to paycheck, and yet she never blinked an eye. Didn't know I was going to be a Major League Baseball player. I was chasing a dream, and they always supported that. There was never, no, that's too much. It was always like, okay, that's what you want to do. And they've always had my back that way. I was truly blessed to have that, and they always worked to better themselves. I think that's one thing I kind of take from my dad. My dad, worked different jobs, struggled as a young man with alcohol, was sober for years and years and years before he could figure out how to do it, moderately on his own.
Right.
Like, my mom said, "You don't stop drinking, I'm taking the boys and leaving." And that's like as a young 20-year-old. And my dad's like, cold turkey, next day, done. And, and I'm forever grateful for that. And then he joined the fire department, and then he became the fire chief. And then he got a great job at the pulp mill as the head of HR and the fire chief down there. And it still is. He's loved by everybody in this town. When we won the World Series in 23-13, Jeff, I'm in the locker room and we're popping champagne. And I hear Big Poppy go, "Wally, Daddy Demp." And I'm like, look over. And next thing I know, I see Big Poppy and my dad shaking a bottle of champagne at each other and spraying each other down.
Oh, man.
Like, that's the kind of man my dad is, and always was along my career, and was blessed to have great parents. It wasn't always easy for them, but they didn't put that on us by any means.
God, it's a beautiful story, man. And the community too help it out. His boss, they see you, they see the work ethic, they see the dad working. That's what it's about. You don't see that so much today, on just a level of just giving your heart to someone because you see their heart, right?
Without an expectation.
Yeah,
Give your heart without an expectation of my son's going to go play Division I baseball,
right,
or he's going to play professional baseball, or I paid all this money. Never was an expectation other than, hey man, he's loves baseball and he's doing something he loves. He's staying out of trouble. And what more can we ask for as parents? And if that means it ends when he's done high school and he goes and works at the same Gibson's Building Supply that dad did, cool. It was all worth it. And that to me, is more than I could have ever wanted.
My dad's dad left him at 8 years old, right? And his mom and sister raised him, right? And she had 2 jobs, and they lived right down the street in inner Seattle, where the minor league ballpark, six stadium, that was the AAA team for the Cincinnati Reds, right? And my dad started working there at 9 years old. Without that, he's on the street, right? Whatever it takes for that individual to get to that level without the negativity. It's amazing, to see the support without his mom and his older sister, who was a great softball player, and says, "I was better than your dad."
Yeah.
And it's that kind of thing. And then the community gets involved. And then he's working at a baseball stadium. He becomes the club. He works from grounds crew to bat boy to then becomes the coveted clubhouse boy, right?
Yeah.
Nobody knows that story about him. And just that, baseball was his life.
Well, and the support is so huge because, at the end of the day, shame on any player who thinks they did it all on their own. I did so much on my own. I took ferry rides. I would leave the last class of school and go take the 220 ferry to Horseshoe Bay in British Columbia and take run off the ferry so I could catch the 3:30 express bus so that I could get to practice on time. And then I'd have somebody drop me back off at the 9:15 ferry at night and do my homework after playing a few games of pole position at the arcade on the ferry. But like, I did that. But I did that because I had this support and I had this massive support system where I could do that. And everybody playing has that. All these people that playing somewhere along the lines, whether it's a coach or a friend or a family member or an extended family member who supports, and we don't get there without that. And it's very hard to do alone. You have to have that. I remember having friends in high school being like, listen, dude, I don't care if you get drunk, but if I catch you smoking weed, I'm going to punch you in your face.
Yeah, right on.
You got a chance to go play professional baseball. Don't ruin it with this. And of course, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. But like, that's support. That's somebody in your corner. And like, we're all so fortunate. I think a vast majority, 99.9% of the people who make it to the big leagues get there because of the support systems that we do have, your dad included. As terrible as it was that his dad left and stuff, he had that support of his mom and his sister and the support of the minor league baseball team at 9 years old who says, yeah, let's go, man. Let's get this dirtbag down here to go work on the baseball field. He loves it.
Right. Yeah.
It could have been easy to say, get out of here, kid. And they said no. And that's support. And that's what we need as young kids.
I want to ask you, today's game, what do the Cubs need to do to become a postseason team again? Like, what are you looking at today that you need? It's a different equation, even when you played, don't you think?
Yeah, it is, and I think sometimes we get a little forgetful that you can't rely on an algorithm or a program. You really have to bet on the human being. And you have to bet on the human being in Chicago. Playing for the Chicago Cubs is different than playing in other places. I think it takes a special person to play here, and you have to identify those, and then you have to go after them. You have to not be afraid. I think that sometimes we can get comfortable in sustained success happening. We can get comfortable in money being generated and fans showing up. We have this guilty pleasure with the Chicago Cubs is that ballpark is going to have 35,000, 40,000 fans every day, whether you win or lose, because the fan base, because they are so passionate. And don't lose sight of the fact that winning is the most important thing. So if that means we have to spend a little bit more to get the good players, we go spend to get the good players. That means that we have to sacrifice a few years on the back end of a contract. Look at Jason Hayward's contract, right? At the time, it was the biggest free agent contract ever given to the Cubs. Did Jason Hayward fulfill that contract? From a numbers perspective and an analytical perspective, you could argue no. You say, well, look at the numbers that were put up. Was it worth it? Well, I know one thing.
Mm-hmm.
He signed and we won a World Series, and the next year we went to the NLCS, and the next year we went to the man created, and it was a part of a culture because he did everything the right way. So is it worth it to you if we cut some corners and you don't win? Or is it worth it to you if you go spend for what that means, because it has a trickle down effect, and you don't want to be reckless, but if you truly understand that the most important thing should be winning and bringing that to a team, and we get so in love with prospects, Jeff, all the time, prospects and this prospect and this prospect. I got boxes upon boxes of baseball cards in my office. I got them in storage. I'm a baseball card collector, and every year there's a group of 20 prospects that these baseball cards are the next big thing. That's the 1952 Mickey Mantle card coming. Here it comes. And if I go 5 years from now and I pull out that prospect baseball card collection, there might be one or two.
Right.
If it means trading a prospect to get somebody who's really good, if it means trading a prospect to free up a spot on a roster for that free agent who's proven that he can do it and wants to be here, why not go for that? Because you'll win. You'll have a chance to win. You'll go to the playoffs. Don't settle for mediocrity. You've created something now where success should be the standard, and anything less than that is failure. And I think, that should be the sentiment. And that's how I feel. And I hope that we get to that position where that is the standard again, because it was the standard for a few years, and we've gotten away from that for whatever reason. And I think that we should get back to that being the standard, and anything else not being acceptable. Not being acceptable from game to game,
Yep.
not being acceptable from month to month, and definitely not being acceptable from season to season. We should expect greatness. You should expect greatness at every position. You should expect greatness from every one of your starters, every one of your relievers, and therefore you give the fans, the people who pay the huge amount for tickets, what they want: a winning team on the field every single day, or at least a chance and an opportunity to expect to win. And that's what I would love to see.
Yeah, man. I don't know right now if you see a guy in the Cubs that, I'd want 9 of them, at the, there's a few, they're close, but it's like, I don't know. I could pick out 4 Yankees and 4 Dodgers that, give me 9 Mookie Betts and get, right down the line, Freddie Freeman, you name it. So what do you think about
I think there's some really good ball players in there, and there's some guys that could be even better than they are, and they have a chance to be great. And I think there's a lot of really good all-star quality players, leaders, and guys that I want on that team. And it doesn't mean that some of those guys that are that way, I think that healthy competition is great. I think that having somebody that you have to look over your shoulder that might want your job or that could take your job is great. I think that complacency and comfortability in baseball is a toxic thing. I think that having, the ability to always push each other to be really good, not just like a good at bat. I get a great at bat. That's awesome. Not just has good stuff on the mound. Awesome. But like I said, there's not another league. You don't get to now go to another league. This is the echelon. I want results. I want the process. The process I trust. I do, because in turn that should produce good results, and at times great results. But if we're not getting them, then we got to evaluate the mechanism at which is producing those products.
Yeah, totally. And now you were a starter and a closer, which is amazing. And I want to talk about that in a second, but like, it seemed like, okay, you could have one Lee Smith back in the day. Now you need 4 of them in the bullpen, right? I mean, is that the equation? Like, you got to have 4 great.
If you teach the starting pitcher how to pitch 3 times through the lineup, you don't need 4 of them.
right.
Call me old school and crazy.
No, I'm with you, man.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that there is a way to teach it that we've gone away from. I look at it this way. On a general number, even if you're average, you're 24%, guys facing a guy, batting average against for starting pitchers, 23, 24%, right? 230, 240.
Mm-hmm.
That means that pitcher has a 76% success rate. I still buy in that. If I'm in Las Vegas tomorrow and there's a casino that says we have a game that you can win 76% of the time, I'm going to have a tough time getting a seat at the table. But we've somehow gone away from that, and we focused on the negative side of it so much, when instead we just trust our eyes a little bit. All the numbers are great and all the formulas are great. Lou Piniella once said, every time, son, I walk out to the field when things are going well, I risk something going bad when I point to that bullpen.
Right. Yeah, 100%, man. And I believe, like, there was a time when the Cubs had a bit of a winning streak towards the end here. I think, early September, whatever it was, and they came back to play Pittsburgh. And Talon had seven strong innings, and you pull them, there's 4 runs. I'm not saying but you're looking at a pitch count, but there's a time that you're in a playoff stretch that you have to almost go for it, push the guy a little farther here, because like you said, I come out to the mound, things can change here. Right now I'm winning 3-0.
Yeah, well, and how did you get there, right? Did the first time you faced the guy, you threw first pitch sinker and he hit a ground ball? And then the next time you faced the guy, you threw a first pitch fastball inside and he popped it up? Well, I've only thrown him a few pitches. And even if, by the way, the last at bat, he hit it hard, the guy saw him really well. Ooh, what was the pitch? What did he get there? How did he get there? Maybe we should go with something else. But now you watch a guy start a game, and on the first batter of the game, he goes first pitch fastball down away, then he goes a changeup, then he goes a breaking ball, then he goes a first pitch fastball inside, and then he throws a split finger fastball. Well, no wonder the third time through the lineup the guy can hit him. He's seen every pitch. He's thrown the kitchen sink, and it's literally like a terminology: kitchen sink this guy. Everything you got.
Right.
I think at times we could go back and we'd be surprised at how alike the data might end up if we just put it exactly how it used to be and we allow the starting pitcher to kind of. Now, there's times too, Jeff, where like I have a tough time getting through the lineup one time. You know?
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
like, 2 times through the lineup, maybe I'm like, hey, dude, you don't have it today. Sorry. You want me to let you out there and keep going when you have it, then I will. But when you don't have it, I got to take you out because I want to try and win the game too.
But the mental game of baseball, though, if you pull a starter in 5 innings when he's got his stuff going, you're just making him think that he can't eat because he's got a couple guys on base. Mentally, they're not going to have those situations that they can get out of. And are they going to change the rules now? I heard that they might do like 6 innings for a starter, depending on a few exceptions.
Yeah, there's so many intertwining rules that they're going to have to try and figure out because you deal with injuries, you deal with guys, all kinds of stuff. I know they're looking to try and incentivize it. Maybe that's you lose your DH if you take your starting pitcher out before the 5th, barring no injury, or he hasn't given up so many runs. But
right.
I think you incentivize it. Teams can incentivize it if you pay guys for starting pitching. You know, I have conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories. If every starting pitcher, if you're breeding guys to throw 200 innings and dominate, you know, and now what is that going rate for a starting pitcher? 40 million, 45. Right. You know, do I really want to have to pay all my guys $45 million? I don't know. You know, so there's lots of different folds to it, but I just think that we're devolving starting pitching, and I think that we should be trying to focus on how to evolve it. And I'm not coming from a place of I understand the game evolves, but why are these guys so special? Let's harness that. Let's take the special. Let's create more Justin Verlanders. Let's create more Garrett Coles. Let's not figure out a way to numb those guys a little bit and dumb them down and make them 5-inning guys. Let's figure out a way to make them 9-inning guys.
Yeah, 100%. Do you think that today the managers can lose a game more than they can help? It seems like the managers of the past didn't affect the game so much on all the moves they made. Or am I just starting? Is it because we're just?
Well, I just think we're seeing way more moves, so we feel like that there's way more of an impact, you know. And now those moves are strictly being driven through numbers and data and analytics. So, you know, that's kind of the big move behind it all. So I think there's more opportunities for managers to lose a game. I also think then we see games that are won. Could they have been won the same way without anybody being involved? Like, I always wonder if we just take a team and we go, here, you 9 guys and you guys and you just play. Yeah. Would we have the exact same result?
Right.
You know?
Right.
Like, the games aren't 18-15 now.
Right.
They're the same scores and the teams are winning the same amount of games. So is it better? I don't know. It's the same result. You know, at least they figured out the pitch clock. So we're doing it in a little bit shorter time than the 4.5-hour games we were having.
Yeah, it seems like the managers just, you know, when you what is it in baseball? You got streaks, you go with them, right?
Yeah.
You're on a roll, go with it. Why mess up the roll? But, you know,
a guy hits 2 home runs now, and then the next day doesn't play because a lefty's pitching. Right. I'm like, I get you. I understand where you're coming, but also it looks like a beach ball coming into the guy right now.
Yeah,
you know?
Right. There you go, man.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. Now you closing and starting. How did you turn that gear? You got the long-term mindset versus a short-term mindset.
Yeah. I mean, closing, you're getting 2 pitches ready in the bullpen real fast, and you're just worried about, you know, getting that last out before, you know, they tie the game. You're not worried about setting a hitter up. It's the kitchen sink does come out. As a starter, there was a little bit more art to it, and you know, you're painting a picture, and you're going out there and you're controlling the tempo. You're doing those things. A whole different beast, 2 totally different animals, you know, and I was able to do it 2 different ways. Start for a long time, 5 years, 6 years, close for 3 years, and then go back to start for another 5 years. So 6 years, 2 totally different beasts. And just learn. I asked a lot of questions, especially going to the closing role. I talked to different closers around the league about workout and routine and mentality and those kind of things. And I think that helped me a lot, just trying to get that experience.
Yeah, there's not many that have done it. You know, Smoltz and Eckersley. I mean, there's not many that can do it, man.
Yeah.
And that's where the mental game of baseball again comes into play. How often do you talk to yourself on the mound, Ryan, when you were out there?
Not a, you do talk to yourself in a sense. Internal dialogue is really good. And, a lot of breathing. I learned that as I went along in my career and just kind of working through it that way. You keep it simple,
Yeah.
locate, pitch selection, location, execution. That's it. I learned that from Maddox. There's really not much more you can do. You can watch and observe and take in and be prepared. As long as you're prepared, you shouldn't feel pressure. And then you just kind of observe the game as it going on, pitch to the scoreboard, pitch to the lineup, and try to control your emotions. But at the end of the day, it's a really simplistic approach. What pitch am I going to throw? Where do I want to throw it? And then execute. And other than covering first base or fielding by position, everything else is kind of out of my control. Very few times do you might throw a fastball and be like, man, guy got a double. That was the wrong pitch. Was it? Or was it wrongly located? Now, if I throw that and go back and I look on tape and that pitch is located, now it's the wrong pitch. Why was it the wrong pitch? But, I think that if you simplify it pitching, we can get in all these complex formulas. This pitch and this count. I can throw the wrong pitch sometimes. And if it's located, I'm going to get a guy out. It's hard to hit, really hard to hit. So it's all pitching has always been real estate, location, location, location.
Yep.
Velocity, movement, location. You get 2 of 3, you're going to be really good. You get 3 of 3, you're going to dominate that day.
Yeah. And when it comes to hitting too, man, when you see the hitters that see the ball and hit it, you can see when guys are guessing, right? My dad always said, I never guessed. I look for a fastball and adjusted the curve. That's why he had a great on base percentage, right? He walked a lot. And do you see that? Can you see when a guy's guessing you?
Oh yeah, for sure. You can tell by the swings, and you can tell by how they maybe took a certain pitch and a certain count, and it's like, okay, I'm just going to throw that again, and then you make him make the adjustment, and sometimes the really good hitters, you got to make the adjustment before they even do, because they're playing that chess match with you.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Now I'm going to last thing, couple things here. You had this statement I love: "Be the buffalo." Yeah. Tell me about that. Be the buff. Endure, just be.
Well, a storm. If you're out in the plains of Montana and there's a storm coming, and all the cows run, they run the other way of the storm. They go look for a tree to hide underneath. A buffalo looks at the storm and knows the storm's coming, so might as well just run head on into it. And I'm going to run through the storm. And, I think whatever we're going through in life, not just in baseball, it's the hardest thing to do is be the buffalo. We can't avoid the inevitable. Things are uncomfortable. We're going to have to tackle them head on. And if you just, I find that, and what happens is the buffalo ends up being the stronger of the two. They end up being the one that makes it through, and they can endure that. And then you become stronger, you become thicker skin, you become, smarter. So I saw that a long time ago, and I just loved it because it's the truth. We can run from whatever uncomfortable thing we're dealing with, but if you just tackle it head on, and the same with that moment, like you got the bases loaded and you're facing Aaron Judge. Like, why do I want to be afraid? Let's go, man.
Yeah,
let's attack, and I learned those lessons playing. If I could go back and do things a little bit more as a younger player, I'd be the buffalo a little bit more.
God, I love that. Just in life, man. Today, Joseph Campbell. I love Joseph Campbell, The Hero's Journey. I always read that when I was younger, and I still tap into it, right? And it lays a foundation, about, the world's a mess, right? But if you take care of yourself, man, if you make yourself a better ball player, the world's, if everyone did that, the world's going to be a little better, right?
Yep, no doubt.
Concentrate on yourself and be the buffalo. Be the. They talk about masculinity today. Be a real man, right? Just be there for people. Be the buffalo. Take the hits. Don't put the hit on someone else just because you're feeling crappy about yourself.
Yeah, well, and that's ultimately, I remind my kids that all the time. Like, if they have a moment at school and somebody's maybe being mean, or something happens, or I say that if somebody steals something from us, like I've had my car broken into, and I think, man, that person's going through a tough time.
Yeah, man.
So like, don't let that be who you are. They're going through a tough time. Hold your head up high and because we all go through tough times, and you said masculinity, there ain't nothing wrong with that. We're men, we can be that way. We can be sensitive too. We can be sensitive to others, but it doesn't mean that I can't be the buffalo in that situation. Like I can't move forward. I've been through a lot of hard things in my life, from a child to an adult. Some of those are my own doing. Some of those are things that have happened. But at the end of the day, I can hold my head high and be the buffalo and continue to just keep pushing forward.
Yeah, I love that, man. And last thing I want to talk about your kids, Riley.
Yeah.
Which
Oh,
is
doing amazing.
Yeah. God, and what she went through I remember when she was born.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about her. She's beautiful, beautiful young girl. Amazing story, man. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Just, Riley, for those who don't know, was born with called 22q deletion syndrome, DeGeorge syndrome. So 22q, partial deletion of your 22nd chromosome, second most common chromosome syndrome in the world, behind Down syndrome. Affects a lot of kids in a lot of different ways. And Riley had it tough early on, to the point where we're not sure if she's going to make it early. And, being born at 4 pounds and on a ventilator and feeding tubes and a tracheotomy and all these kind of things. And through a lot of great support, a lot of great help, great doctors, and her own fight and her own spirit. Now she's 15 years old. She's a sophomore at Glenbrook High School, Glenbrook South up in Glenview.
I went to South, man. I went to South.
She's trying out for the basketball team, and she's thriving. And that's a kudos to the people around us that that we had, the people at the clinics here in Chicago. And I look at it. We shared her story. And people can look at it. They go to 22q to familyfoundation.com to read about her story and all the kids. But when we found out, there was not a lot to be known here in Chicago, and not any fault of anybody. It's just how it was. And now there's a 22q clinic here. All the doctors know everything about it. And I got a letter, about a year after she was born from a doctor and a family up in Milwaukee, saying that Riley's story saved their son's life because they didn't know anything about it. And that to me is worth everything. And I always tell Riley all the time, you've done more in your life than I will ever do in mine by sharing your story. You've changed so many kids' lives and families' lives and people's lives. So yeah, I appreciate you asking about her and talking about her, because it's really been remarkable. And sometimes I forget that she even has it, because she's doing so well. And now I say she's just a normal 15-year-old girl. And you can imagine how challenging that is.
Yeah, right.
For a dad, I just have to say, yes, dear, absolutely, whatever you say, dear.
Amazing. And you have two boys too, right?
Yeah, I got Brady. I got the full spectrum. I got Brady at 18. I got Riley at 15. Finley, she's 13. I got Izzy at 6, and I have a 2-year-old at Jack. So we are.
Yeah, that's a good family there, man.
That's why I got the minivan, Jeff.
Yeah, perfect. Now, your son at 18, because Ronnie and I played baseball. What's that? Does he feel the pressure? Is he a pitcher?
He felt it his whole life, man. He tried. He loves baseball, but he chose a different path. He's going to the University of Arizona. He's taking environmental engineering. He's a wicked smart kid. He's a tremendous kid. He's always around the game with me. He goes to the All-Star games with me, at Wrigley with me all the time. And I love when I take him places. I took him to the All-Star game in Texas this past year. And how many people came up to me and said, your son Brady is so respectful. We just love him. He's so thoughtful and caring. And, he's meeting Aaron Judge, and he's on the field with these superstars, and they all just talk to him like a peer. And I'm just so proud of him.
Yeah, that's all. Ronnie and I felt, when you grow up in a clubhouse and you're around guys like yourself and my dad and Ernie Banks and Bill, all those guys, you do get that character. That's my dad might not have said it to me, but I watched it, right? And I knew if I was out of line, he's gonna hit. He's gonna do something to us. Make sure you don't come in this clubhouse and screw off. You're part of the group. You're part of the family, and that's beautiful, man. I almost wish like I did that. Went to film school right out of high school, because it's hard to be your dad when where your dad came from. Psychologically, a little different place of how you grew up versus how they grew up. You know what I mean? And that does matter. That does matter.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, and great to have you on, man. So cool talking to you. I can't wait to have a beer sometime.
Same here, man.
And who you picking?
You know what I'm doing, man? This is tough because early on in the year, you said I picked the Dodgers early on, just everything going there, and I don't. If I have a rooted interest, Anthony Rizzo is one of my favorite people.
Right.
Aside from being a player, this guy is a friend, a dear friend for life. Aaron Boone was my former roommate when I got traded over the Reds. I lived with Booney when I got there. So I guess if I'm going to be sitting at it all at the end and I'm going to smile, I'm rooting for those guys. That being said, I got a lot of good friends over in LA too. I know this. This is the best World Series we could ask for, and I don't care what anybody says. You know, the best players in the game. This will be talked about from coast to coast, from Japan to the U.S. It's going to be huge. It's great for our game. We get to watch the best players play, and I hope to see Anthony Rizzo have himself another ring before it's all said and done, before his career's over.
Well said, man. I can't wait to watch it too. I'm with you on that. I just want to see good baseball, and we're going to see.
Heck yeah.
You know,
great to be with you, dude. I appreciate you having me, man.
All right, take care, Ryan. Thanks again. Bye now.
This Santo moment is brought to you by Onesti Entertainment. During spring training of 1970, a Chicago Today article reads, "During her schooling, Judy Santo majored in psychology, and nobody knows this better than the Cubs. Mrs. Santo's handiwork has provided countless laughs for the Cubs as they read her spring training instructions for her husband, Captain Ron Santo. Judy dispensed a set of rules for her talented husband to follow during spring training, and her orders are on display in the Cubs clubhouse under Scottsdale Stadium. They read as followed. 1. Get to know Don Kessinger, Phil Regan, and Randy Hundley better by socializing with them. 2. Don't hang out at the Red Dog, Scottsdale's mecca for jazz and jive entertainment. 3. Drink nothing stronger than orange juice. 4. Have one night on the town with Doc, trainer Al Schneeman, and Yosh Kuana, the team's equipment manager. 5. Catch up on your reading, particularly the Bible and Black Beauty. 6. No wearing of swim trunks or other such revealing attire." This order sheet is signed Judy Santo. That Santoid was brought to you by Onesti Entertainment.
Crackerjack.
This call is being recorded.
Jeff Santo.
Dog! Jim McCauley. How you doing?
Good, man. How you doing?
Good. You're my crackerjack. I think you knew that. I'm not sure.
The recording gives it away.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Hey, man. Following up with you because you went to the Hall of Fame this past weekend, and I just want to know if my call did anything. Did you get free parking or anything like that?
Oh, yeah. We got more than free parking. Your call hooked us up big time.
Right.
We had comp tickets, but also more important than that was like an hour-long VIP private tour behind the scenes. Got to see some pretty cool memorabilia, hear some history. It was awesome.
Wow. Well, that is so cool, man. John Shesta, man, came through. What a cool guy. Hey, Pops is in there, right? And I haven't talked to anyone from the Hall of Fame since, he got put in when we went out there back in 2012. So what a cool thing. Awesome, man. Give me a breakdown. So first time there, obviously. Break it down for me, walking in there.
Yeah, so first, John was great. I mean, just setting the whole thing up. And we had a guy named Joe. I didn't catch his last name, he was a young guy. Been there a couple years, but man, this guy knew his stuff, and he was good. So he walked us around for, 15, 20 minutes and gave us some history, and then brought us into a back room where they had some memorabilia laid out on a table. We all put the latex gloves on, and he passed some of the stuff around and, told us, stories and whatnot about the different things. I mean, there was Lou Gehrig's jersey, Ted Williams jersey.
Nice.
I think it was Lou Gehrig's, old baseball mitt. One of those old timey mitts, with no web.
Yeah, you wonder how anyone even catches anything in those gloves, right?
Well, and you see the ball in the pocket, like right in your palm,
right.
like you caught 1,000 balls, in that thing.
Right.
There was Tom Seaver's spikes from the game in 1970 when he struck out 19. That was cool. I mean, the spikes you could see. Like on his right foot, the toe dragging on the dirt. You can see where it was worn off.
Wow. Yeah.
Just really cool. And he told us this story that, so this is 1970, around the time that the Oakland A's, were wearing the white shoes and everything. Well, that was the first time anyone did that. And these shoes were the Adidas with the white stripes,
Oh yeah.
But they put black shoe polish on them. I guess. I missed why, like whether they were, just still being conservative and wanted to, all the teams wanted to look black, the black shoes. But you can see the white shoe polish was rubbing off, and you can see the white stripes underneath. So just little stuff like that. And I mean, one of my coolest things I've ever seen was Kerry Wood striking out 20, right?
Yeah, right.
So see it on television. I wasn't there, but to see. Something from Tom Seaver in a 19-game strikeout was pretty cool.
Yeah.
The other thing, I'm sorry, man, just shut me up if I'm talking too much, right?
No, give me it. Yeah, go.
The other really cool thing, he brought out a stat sheet from Jackie Robinson. His first, not quite 2 months, I think it was 7 weeks in the bigs. And, of course, back then they did everything by hand. So it was like this, I don't know, larger than legal size piece of paper, set it down in front of us like a landscape. And, it would be like what you and I would use when we were kids to record our little league stats,
Right.
The at-bats, number at-bats, hits, runs, strikeouts, walks, all across the board, game by game. Like little pencil. Yeah, it was so cool. So cool. One of the things he pointed out was that Jackie had 7 hit by pitches in that time frame, the first.
In what, the first 2 months? He got hit 7 times.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, and if you look at it, he was hit maybe once the first couple of weeks. Then they must have figured out, man, this kid is really good. We got to start plucking him. Yeah. So
you hope.
Really cool.
Yeah. That's amazing, man. To go back to that, and what was so you got back in that back room, and also you sent me something. You sent me this cool photo. You took a picture of it, the strike zone for Ted Williams, which showed where he hit 400, what pitch. That was amazing. It was he hit everything from the waist up. He hit 390. Nothing could get past him, outside, inside. That was amazing to see.
The only weak spot, if you even call it a weak spot, was where you would guess low and away, and so it's the strike zone, and there's different colored baseballs, right? So it's a baseball that goes across and it fills the whole thing, and they're different colors based on 400. You pitch him in the heart of the plate, he hit
He's hit 400.
Yeah. He's hit 400. Yeah. Down and away, the 5 baseballs down at the lower, down and away, he hit 230.
Right. But and everything else was 383. It was amazing, all the pitches that he could hit. And that no longer happens much to only a few ball players, but yeah, he was one of the best, man. You got to give me what was it like walking in there for you? Looking at the plaques, how did they have that sit? Because, when I went in 2012 and it was such, I forget a lot of the stuff because there was so much going on, right? With him getting in and our family being there and all that, but take me through it, man.
Did you? So you didn't really get a chance to experience the hall, right?
Well, I did. I experienced the hall in 2006. I went to the film festival out there, and for this old cub was in the film festival, and actually I won the filmmaker award. So I did get to walk then, right? But I had this feeling because my dad wasn't in, right? So I was a little, I just felt an awkward feeling because that was right after he got denied like 3 times from the new committee. And so I didn't have the greatest frame of mind. And so when I went there, when he got in, it was a lot. So yes, we put up his plaque, but to take in all the plaques, it was a lot to do. Yeah, I really didn't do it.
So
can't wait to do that. Try it again.
Here was my experience. And I don't know if the Hall of Plaques is the same when you were there, like they might have expanded it, right? So you walk in and feel like it's like a horseshoe, okay? When you look straight ahead to all the way down the hall, it's curved, and that's the very first class, 1936.
Who's number one? Who's the first guy? Babe Ruth? Was he the first guy?
Well, it's not really, it's just the whole class. So
okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
gotcha.
You can't really tell who's first, whatever. But it's the whole class. So then, again, when you walk in, if you look to the right, that's the second class, and then so on. If you walked down the hall on the right side, you would go, second class, third class, fourth class, and I think it must be like 5 or 6 years groupings, something like that.
Right.
I didn't pay attention to that. So you look to the right, and then you walk down, and you just see class by class by class, and then you come all the way back to the beginning, and you start on the left, and you do the same thing. Okay. And then you go around the horseshoe at the very end, and it continues, et cetera. But so my experience was this: like, we walk in right away with Joe, the tour guide, and he knew that, he knew we were there, because of you and your dad and whatever. So he brought us right to your dad's plaque.
Oh wow!
And the place wasn't packed. I mean, this was like 10:30 in the morning, so I mean there were people there, but it wasn't packed. And I got to tell you, like, right out of the gate, I got emotional. Like, I'm looking at the plaque, and I got emotional. Like, I was getting choked up, and it surprised me. And I think it's, I just know the journey, right, of him, of him not getting in, right, and then, like, even I guess the thought that flooded my brain was like, he doesn't even know he's in. Like,
no, right?
Like,
God.
like, yeah, like that. Like how sad, because he deserved to have that experience of having all the people he knew and loved and played with see him get in and him experience that. So anyway, so we saw that, and then we went back into the room, and then we came back, and I went right back to his plaque, and Sarah took a picture of me with the plaque, and I get emotional again, and I'm like, wow, So then,
that's awesome, dog.
Then now we're going back and actually going through it class by class, right? Right side, left side. And I'm doing that, and I decided, like, I wasn't reading any of the plaques because I knew I would get into, like, information overload and I'd get burned out. So I was just taking pictures. I probably have pictures of 100 plaques, right? Guys, I'm like, okay, Everett, who is it? Everett to Tinkers to Chance, like, okay, I got to get those guys pictures.
Yeah, Everett to Tinkers to Chance. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just taking pictures. And so I'm walking down the right side, and then I, starting with the first class, and then I come back and I start walking on the left side, and I see Ernie. I'm like, oh, okay, get the picture. And then Billy, I think same class, I'm not sure.
No, Billy was probably 6 years, 6 or 7.
Well, maybe
later.
maybe not same class, but he was in the same grouping, right?
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, in the same grouping. And so I'm like, all right, Ernie, Billy, and then the next grouping, I see Fergie. And I'm I'm on the left side, I'm maybe a third of the way down, and it just struck me. And I looked all the way at the end, where your dad's plaque was. And it was just this physical representation of how long Well, not only how long he waited, right? Still never got in, but how long he waited. Like it just, and then I keep going down, and I'm seeing Mike Schmidt, and I forget who else, but all these, newer players, and it just keeps coming back to me. Like, man, how did he not get in? Until then.
Wow. That's wow. Yeah, there's a lot of time there, right?
Yeah.
And the guys that he played with, yeah, wow, man. And just thinking about, you said Mike Schmidt, where Mike Schmidt broke all his records. He broke Eddie Matthews' records, and to have to wait. And yeah, it's crazy, man, to think about that. But yeah, that gets me. Yeah, the pain that he had, and hopefully there's a vibe that he knows he's in. I think, I got to say that he was pretty optimistic, like even to the end, that or hopeful that he would get in, and we would be able to see it, and the people who knew him, and so that happened. So tell me about like anything else that stood out to you at the Hall?
Yeah. Let me just say one more thing, because I want to end on a positive note, right? Like,
yeah.
And on the other hand, like his plaque is up there with all the greats in the game,
Yeah.
Which,
totally.
Which, like, I know that I don't know if it's the bigger story, right? That he that he got in after he passed, but really, he made it,
Right.
Like,
yeah.
And
you know what I mean?
Like,
yeah.
But I say that, after walking around and seeing all these greats, and that your dad is part of that, is huge. It's awesome.
Yeah, and how many are in the Hall today? What's the number on that?
Oh, there's a number. I want to say it's like 1,500, something like that.
Really? That many? Because I remember, like, I thought he was 298 or something when he got in.
Oh, I could be wrong. I heard the number. I thought it was 1,000. But yeah, that
okay.
would require good Google right now. But I don't have the capability.
Yeah, someone will write in and tell us exactly how many are in there. But there's not many, right? And so
right.
Just to think of that, of all the ball players, and I believe he was 298 when he got in, but it's a selective group, and it's amazing he's there. It's just, that was his journey. His journey was never really, getting to feel everything he had, but he lived it. So I'm happy about that, because he lived every moment of it, and he put it out there, and he was all in. So, and he's all in now, and the Cubs got a World Series NC, and he's in the Hall. But hey, you're right, it's a special thing, man, and it's so cool that that you were there. So tell me, what else stood out?
You know what? We a couple things. First of all, Cooperstown is just a cool little town.
Right, totally.
Like the shops, the restaurants. It's on this beautiful lake. Like I wouldn't really say I'm a museum guy, just because I get worn out. I want to read everything, and then halfway through I'm burnt. But I would go. We were there from like 10:30 in the morning until maybe 3 or 4 in the afternoon. Took a little break for lunch. I 100%, two things, would have gone back the next day, right? But we didn't. We're with the wives, and we wanted to do some other things. But I would go back there in a second, like, and do it again. Like it was that good. To your point, like this whole thing about your dad has nothing to do with the Hall of Fame, right? What they do there, like they have put together an amazing experience. If you're a baseball fan, to just revisit the history of the game. So and also they have this movie. It runs every hour. It's in the same theater probably that your film showed in.
Right, and I forgot to tell you to remind you, go see if there's anything about that. But
any what?
I did. If there's anything written about, like, do they have the festival things names up there in the Hall? I don't even know if they have that. Or they still run it. I was going to tell you to go look for that. Is this old Cub in there somewhere?
Yeah, I think you did tell me, and I with everything going on, I
don't think I did. I don't think I did. But thank you for saying I did.
They were like,
I don't think
they're. Well, it's funny. So we were there because I was with a buddy and his wife, and Sarah was with us, and
right.
It was his 50th, and he kept saying like there was a few, like one part of the floor we didn't see, and on that floor was the entertainment, the film, and he's like, oh, we should go see that, and it never clicked with me that, oh yeah, I got to go see if Jeff's film is there. So I missed it, but that's when we go back. That's when we
there you go. There you go, man. And so that film that they showed, was that like the history of the game, or what, the hall, where it started and all that?
Yeah, it's called The Generations of the Game. I mean, so you can imagine just a lot of old clips, some current stuff. They had, and I think Bob Costas was probably in there, and I forget who else was narrating. But just like really cool old clips. They had a 20 seconds on, Bryant fielding the ground ball, the last out of the 16 World Series. That like not. There were only they might have been the only team that made that movie as far as like, watching the World Series.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but it surprised me, of all of the generations of the game to show the Cubs World Series, that was cool.
Right.
And there was there's another section that has like all the teams have like a little glass encasing, and they showcase, different memorabilia from their team. So the Cubs had Rizzo's jersey from 16, a Bryant jersey, Schwarber's bat when I think he was in the fall league, or there's one of those leagues that like the younger players playing that he excelled in was MVP. They showed the second base from the World Series that Zobrist hit the double. Ends up on the second base was there. I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah, right.
That was cool. Arrieta had a cap in there from his no hitter.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Rossi had something, so that was kind of cool. They had another section where they were highlighting. I don't know exactly what it was, but it was performances in World Series, and Schwarber's jersey was there, and a little plaque showing, I forget what he hit, 348 or 438 or something like that in the World Series, which was cool. And the other thing you mentioned,
why we got rid of him. Yeah, but yeah,
you mentioned your dad played in the Hall of Fame game out there. So we went to the Hall on Friday. and Saturday we were walking around town, and we went to Doubleday Field.
Right.
Check it out. We're just going to walk through it. And I'm just thinking, we're just going to walk in the stadium and check it out. It's going to be empty. Well, there's a college baseball game that is like we walk in the bottom of the first inning.
That's so
and
cool.
It's, I want to say it was Vanderbilt and someone else, and we go in there and we sit, right behind home plate, grab it like these old wooden seats, and we saw like this. It felt like what I would think like one of these old minor league stadiums is, like
you're in a movie, a Field of Dreams. You're going sitting there. You just there's something nostalgic about the whole thing. Yeah, that's a cool stadium, man. It's like a minor league park. Maybe what's it seat? How many? Like not even like a minor league. Less probably.
1,000, 2,000 maybe.
Yeah.
Really, really small. But we saw this was like a Field of Dreams moment. We sit there. We're there for an inning and a half. We see a leadoff home run, 2-out knock where a couple of runs score. Guy steals second base. Guy gets thrown out at third. Like all in an inning and a half. Like like we saw we saw everything we needed to see in an inning and a half, and then took off. That was cool,
man. Yeah, man. That game. When my dad played that game, imagine seeing like that is kind of like Field of Dreams when the pros came out to play there. And I don't know if they do that much anymore, but they did that my dad's time. And I know he hit a home run there. But how cool would that be? See those guys out there, and then think like my dad, like I don't know how old he was when he went there and hit the home run, maybe 27, and then him to think, am I going to be here one day? It's just kind of you think about that and you go, wow, just amazing stuff. Dog, that sounds so cool, man. Wow. Yeah, I can't wait to go back sometime because I want to take it in now. When we went and he got in, it was a lot to deal with, but I know we'll get there next couple of years. I hope we should all go out there and just have a good time. It'd be great.
That is Sarah loved it, right? I mean, that is a guys and wives trip. Like it, and I'm sure it's going to be different. With different exhibits and whatnot. Like it was just amazing. Cannot say enough good things about the people there and the experience. And honestly, I'll end with this. Like I feel like it confirmed that baseball's my game. Like I'm a baseball fan, I'm a football fan, but like there's something about baseball. There is just something about baseball, not only like the intricacies, the strategy, the pitch by pitch, but the history and the nostalgia. And, takes you back to, I saw Rod Carews, some Rod Carews. My grandfather was, teaching me how to field ground balls when I'm probably in like fourth grade. And he gives me a Rod Carew mitt and he's like, this guy's going to be a great hitter.
Right. It throws you back to your childhood. Yeah, there's no doubt, man. Baseball, awesome. Because every kid when we grew up, baseball was the sport. I mean, you just pretended to hit like guys because you're home in the summer, right? And what do you watch in the summer? You watch baseball, and you're out of school. And I think that had a lot to do with it. And they're playing every day, and you're looking in the paper. Yeah, it was so part of our generation's childhood in the summer that if you weren't into baseball, well then, I don't know, maybe you were, what else? I don't know what you're doing.
I don't know what you were doing.
but it just seemed like everyone, What's that?
Everyone we knew was playing baseball.
Yeah, or was talking about it, or were following the Cubs. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. It just felt that way. It felt like a community thing that everyone was dialed into. But that's awesome, man. Thanks for sharing that with us. Appreciate it, dog. I'll be talking to you soon, my friend.
Of course, man. And hey, thank you. No, listen, dude. Thank you so much for the hookup. It was amazing. Can't thank you enough, man. It was like a great experience. So thanks.
All right, love you, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, love you too.
Thanks,
all right,
buddy. See you, pal.
All right.
This podcast is brought to you by Bernie's Tap and Grill. It's family owned and operated since 1954. Located across from Wrigley Field on Clark and Waveland. My dad hit a few home runs on the Waveland Avenue, and Bernie's was my dad's favorite place to go. It's got delicious food, 4 full-service bars, an awesome beer garden, a sidewalk patio cafe, and a cool upstairs area. It's the place I've always met my friends at before and after games. Go on by and tell Linda Dillman Jeff Santo sent you. Bernie's Tap and Grill, where you go when you go to Wrigley.
Thanks for listening to our show. Special thanks to our cool crackerjacks, Scott Nelson, Jim McCauley, Debbie Foley, Sherry Matarisi, Terry O'Brien, Gary Tallman, Anne-Marie Piscule, Jim Yulschlegel, Liz Rutherford, and Mac McPhillamy.
This show is made possible because of them and all of our subscribers. If you want to support the show and be a cool crackerjack yourself, subscribe on our Patreon page. Click the link below this episode or go to the Patreon tab on our website, www.peanutspopcornandcrackerjacks.com.
Our long-term Cool Crackerjacks get a members-only t-shirt, so sign up now to be part of the club. To get notified of the next episode, click the follow button or sign up on Patreon for free.
And leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
And don't hesitate to write. Give us suggestions. Tell us how you're liking the show. Email jeff.ppcpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, email us about what you thought of our short for our sizzle reel. It's at YouTube, our YouTube page.
Santo Films 10 is our channel.
And it's Wild Ones.
Go to the trailer. You'll see the trailer under videos.
Wild Ones, under videos. Okay, Wild Ones. Okay. For my closing quote, I've always been very hopeful, which I guess isn't strange coming from me. I don't want to call myself an optimist. I want to say that I've always been full of hope. I've never lost that. I have a lot of hope for this country and the entire world. Steven Spielberg.
Toodaloo. This Old Cub, the documentary about former 9-time All-Star third baseman, broadcaster, and Chicago Cubs legend Ron Santo and his lifelong battle with diabetes. Santo was the first major league position player to play professional baseball with type 1 diabetes, insulin dependent. This Old Cub captures the spirit of a man and his will to achieve. Santo is the ultimate optimist and therefore the ultimate Cub. Buy the DVD at santofilms.com. We also have t-shirts and other merchandise. Go to santofilms.com or santofilms.bigcartel.com.